No distortion. No robots.
No distortion.
Let's do it. Are we live?
We are live, I think.
Fantastic. So what is going on?
I
What
don't
should
know
we talk
much.
about?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
So I hate to get late breaking news on you, but have you played around with DeepSeek R1 or heard about DeepSeek R1?
Are you? Are you? Do you have it on? Do you have the audio? Do you have the channel on?
Yeah. Oh, on
Oh, I
YouTube,
do.
you mean?
I do. I do. I.
What's
Hold
up?
on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Hold on, hold on,
Ah!
hold on. What happened? Oh no.
No, I had it playing in the background.
No.
It's like, why do I hear it twice?
Oh, I couldn't hear it twice. I think the stream's
Oh,
totally fine.
it's only on my side. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff.
So it
Maybe
just looked
Colin
like I
says
was
we're
going
live.
insane.
Listen, according to the people in the chat, we're live. So
Yeah.
okay. Let's start again here. So I
Okay.
have a question
R
for you about a new
R1
model that I'm not sure if you
DeepSeek.
tried. Yes, I want to say
No,
it's
I
407 billion parameters. So I'm assuming you haven't tried it unfettered.
no.
I would assume. I think it's 407. It's a lot.
461.
That
Well,
sounds about
it's available in many
right.
sizes. It's like 8 different sizes.
Right. In fact, is it the 8 billion parameter one? I think is less tested than I'm seeing. I think the 7 billion parameter one, at least, is what I'm seeing.
Hmm.
But I believe it was ported to Olama, or I'm not sure if it needed to be ported. Sorry, made available in Olama as of 2 days ago, which is why I figured I'd ask.
Yes.
Oh, okay, because I had not seen it. This hit
16
me.
hours ago, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. It hit me like an uppercut. I had not heard of this and not realized, like, I hadn't been following the history of this at
Right.
all. So right out of the left field for me. And I realized, listen, benchmarks are benchmarks, but it does seem to be neck and neck with a lot of like O1, O1 Mini, like that kind of stuff. Like a lot of popular models that are pretty good at reasoning. I would say like sorry, what am I trying to say here by reasoning? Like being able to go through the steps of a process multiple times and pick the answer that most suits what the question was, which I think is kind of what O1 is better at. Did I nail it? It seems like that's the thing that's different about this model.
Right.
Is that the right summarization? Okay.
I
Aside
think
from it
so.
being
And
massive.
so it's available in 1.5 billion, 7 billion, 8 billion, 14 billion, 32 billion, 70 billion, and 671 billion parameter
671, I
models.
was way off. I did read, I'm not sure where the article was, where some people got it running on their GPUs, but they also had like a stack of GPUs. I think it was that SGL link that I sent you from
Mm.
the Latent Space blog. But we're talking serious firepower, or at least money, I guess, to have those H100s to run this unfettered.
Yeah, so I mean, I have that machine that has 8 H100s, so I should
Right.
give it a shot.
Well, kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Who do I know? GPUs.
Yes.
uh, so I was watching the code report. I guess is kind of where I saw it. I'm sure it's the Fireship
Right.
code report. Fireship is the YouTube channel for those of you who haven't seen it before. It's,
Hmm.
it's a favorite of mine, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Right around the middle, there was like a pausable moment, and it was a meme about the prompt engineer as opposed to the prompt engineer. And some of it was like puts prompt engineer on the resume, owns a 4090 for testing the prompts,
Hmm.
etc., which I thought was pretty funny. We're at the point now where we're making memes about the people who are trying to make a living out of this tech, which
Right.
I think is a good place to be, like in terms of the
Yeah.
trough of disillusionment. It seems like we're coming out of the trough of disillusionment now from making
Hmm.
fun of sort of the land grab, I guess, engineering titles, or
Right.
saying like this seems to be like the DevOps engineer kind of title, where it shouldn't be a
Hmm.
title, but you're talking about it as a skill or something like that. So, a good sign.
Yeah.
But it looks like just in terms of licensing that you can use this offline and generate a profit from it without feeling bad. I guess would be one thing. I guess you're
Right.
making money off of Llama already, but also like in the full sense of legality, it looks like this is something that you could actually use for commercial purposes, which is
Right.
again interesting. It fills a void there for sure. Whereas
Right.
you might need to pay OpenAI for API access or what have you to get something similar in the hosted field.
Hmm.
That's why I'm interested. I think.
Yeah. I have not. I saw that it was Is that what the article was that you sent to me like a few hours ago?
Yeah, it was about DeepSeek V3, I believe, and SGLang
Yeah.
specifically. But my understanding is the one that we were talking about after is actually an extension of this, or like a newer version
Okay.
of this, is my understanding. But I
Right.
had not heard of DeepSeek before, I guess is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just heard about the Oolong. I was going through my news feeds, 20 minutes before this. Like, oh, R1 on. Oh, now it's like all the little things I kept hearing. It all like kind of clicked together. It's, oh, that's what people are talking about. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
totally out of it.
I hate that feeling. That's kind of how I felt as well. I was like, oh, everyone's been talking about this. I didn't know about it. And I feel like someone in the chat, in fact, had mentioned it. And I was like, ah, we were talking about Chinese models
Yeah.
at the time. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool. Like, I'll probably not try it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now that it's like matching and or better than other models that are commercially
Right.
available, I'm kind of interested. Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you got for us? Some sort of ASMR treat over here?
No, there's a bag that's on my desktop, and I'm wondering, what is this? Oh,
Is it
okay.
live
Okay.
again?
Yeah.
I would assume.
Huh?
Is it live?
No, it was one of the little like what is it? Static,
Anti-static wrist wrap.
anti-static.
Anti-static.
Ta-
Yeah.
yeah, I
Do you
don't know
use
why it
those?
was on my desktop. No, but it was on my desk, and it's like, why is this on my desk? Because I
I say
bought
this as someone
something.
who never used one, but built like I want to say hundreds, if not
Oh yeah,
thousands, of computers.
yeah. No, I've never used one. I mean, I haven't used one in 30 years.
I took like an A
But
plus exam back in the day where they taught me how to use one, but these
oh
days, like
yeah.
I tap the power supply and I haven't
No,
died yet.
I bought a like a toolkit that includes a anti-static mat and all.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool. The mats are like I would definitely recommend a mat
yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
it's a pretty cool
there's
little
Matt
tool set.
Williams, and then there's the anti-static mat. Sorry. I did, in fact, just have a nap, so I'm on my A game today. It's just gonna be flying. But yeah, I would honestly really be interested to see what you get
Yeah,
back from DeepSeek R1 on the machine, the beefy computer that you've got there.
yeah.
I
I mean, I
realize it's
can't
difficult
imagine
to
it's
benchmark.
that
Go ahead.
fast. I don't understand. Even on this machine with 8 H100s,
Right.
I don't see any. There's so little benefit at the really large model sizes
Right.
that beyond what you get at even 30. I mean, going beyond that I mean, people are going to say, "Oh, well, it's obvious. It's
Right.
so obvious to see the difference." No, it's not.
Right.
And if you look at the
If you look at the benchmarks
whatever
you're
you're
using, these are non-trivial, right? Like these are pretty serious questions.
Yeah, and I mean, but if you look at the answers that are generated by these things, and you look at one generated by a 32 billion parameter model and a 671 billion parameter model,
Right.
and you don't have and if you see the thing that says this one is from 671 billion, it's like, oh yeah, that's obviously better. But
Right.
if you don't see that part and you just see the answers, like which one's better? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're both kind of the same.
That's why I like those
And
blind rankings where it's like a bunch of
yeah,
user scores. I mean, I'm obviously you could try to somehow BS your way through that and like give your own model a better ranking, but it looks like because they're pitting them together in almost like a round robin kind of thing that it
hmm
looks like it would be uh less I guess bias couldn't be introduced because you don't know the model that you're testing. I
yeah,
think is what I'm thinking about here. The other thing, like, just looking at the questions and the benchmarks they're talking about, like I'm not going to be able to have, unfortunately, a conversation with an LLM about math at that high level where we're
yeah,
talking about discovering new areas or wrinkles within mathematics that
sure,
we already have. Like I love math, but that's way like
way
above and
beyond.
beyond anything I can do. The others are kind of like engineering examples or things about like English creative writing. And again, like I'm pretty good in these areas, but I'm like
Right,
I'm not an expert, so
right,
I can't at all be the one to judge. And I even say like when it comes to programming, there are only a few languages where I could say I'm good enough to be able to tell if this is the right way to write this piece of code.
right,
But after about 300 lines, like once you're into enterprise Java or .NET or Python, what have you, like I'm at a loss, honestly, as an individual contributor who would like help on a
right,
feature or something here or there. Like at best, primarily glucose throwaway kind of person. It's difficult for me to judge whether or not it's doing a
right.
good job of programming, aside from did it work or not. So if it's a video game where you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and like, hey, the character moves, I'm happy, let's move on, kind of thing.
Right.
Awesome. If it's something where you've got to put in like an X-ray machine or something serious, like a plane, like I'm not, and I'm not saying that I don't trust it. I just don't trust myself to be able to
Right.
rate the output of these models to
Yeah.
tell to say like this is battle tested and here's why. Sort
Yeah.
of thing.
And
It's
if a model is designed to be at that level, I mean, it's like a regular human being, somebody who is at that
Mhm.
high level. Typically, because I've met a few of them, typically
Mhm.
they're kind of incompetent at talking to normal people.
Right in other areas, right?
Yeah. So
It's like the spider graph with like
having a
one
model
long
that
leg. Yeah.
having a model that's tuned for that kind of thing is like,
Right.
okay, that's probably not the best model for most people. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Again, I work at a company. We've got some stuff that can do code generation, that sort of thing. And in terms of like, hey, your code's broken. Here's a fix that might work. Like that kind of stuff. At least I can get around. Like, hey, I can see that it's broken. I see that it failed in prod. I can put in the fix. I can see that it solved the problem in prod. Like that to me, kind
Is
of like
Datadog doing that now?
yes, is one of the things that I demoed in Las Vegas for
Okay.
AWS reInvent. Dan Bellamy, I believe.
Oh,
You remember Dan? You
yeah.
probably remember. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
sorry again, a little bit of inside baseball here, folks. But a good engineer at Datadog is kind of working on this sort of feature and introduced it to me actually and said like, hey, while you're demoing this part, would you mind talking about this bit as well? Then my first reaction is like, what the actual heck? Like, does it work? Before I start telling people about this, does it work? Kind of thing. I believe
Yeah.
it was in beta at the time, and it might still be closed beta now, but it's something that we talk about publicly.
He was
Pretty cool.
always the one at the hackathons who, rather than doing, like one project really, really, really well, he would do like 8 different projects,
Oh,
all really well, but
yeah.
not like, but and then
Yeah,
he would be completely frazzled because he had no sleep and he's,
yeah.
you know,
He's doing the real
doing Red Bull
hackathon.
shots every hour, every half hour.
It
Yeah.
it's I don't know if you've ever done that in a hackathon. I certainly have, but it takes a lot out of you. It feels like you have to
Yeah.
recover a week after the hackathon on
Yeah.
those kind of adventures, we'll call them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. I don't know if I could do that multiple years in a row. It takes a lot out of you. But he
Yeah.
does go up to the
Yeah.
hackathons every year, as far as I
Yeah.
can tell.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Anyway,
My
but why
probably
these awesome engineers? Yeah.
the thing I miss the most about my time, my 8 years at Datadog,
Mhm.
the one thing that is most disappointing about not being there is not getting access to the hackathon T-shirts.
I was about to make a joke about t-shirts, like sort of half-heartedly, but the hackathon t-shirts are nice. I will neither confirm nor deny that I've said that I'm going to participate in a hackathon 1 or 2 years and had not, but did get a t-shirt. So
Yeah.
mea culpa. But the t-shirts are amazing, and
Yeah.
honestly, at least one of those years, I said I thought I could help, but did not. The shirts are fantastic though, and I feel
Yeah.
like this kind of program, again, for those of you who don't know, at Datadog, where Matt and I used to work, we would do like I think it's yearly at least, if not a little bit more, depending on the region that you're in or the team that you're on, hackathons, and they were company wide, are company wide, and it kind of gives you it's optional as well, but it kind of gives you time to work on things that you maybe um, I want to say like okay, so straight up, the business features that you want to work on that you didn't have time for before, which I think
Hmm.
is phenomenal. The others that I really like are just like the weird bets, and I won't talk about any of them here because they're internal. But like I don't know, maybe I want to make a Snapchat filter or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it's just something I want to try to see if I could try a new programming language and see how it works and like figure out how it could work for us, or maybe it doesn't. Like those odd kind of left field sort of experiments are the ones I love. And obviously the internal
Yeah.
ones, the features are fantastic too. But I love, even at Samsung, we had some of those where we come up with just amazing
Right.
ideas. And I find, again, I won't say too much about what they were, but I find that little spark of something sort of random, tangentially related to your work, is interesting because it makes me think about a whole bunch of other different like
Right.
areas or like what else is in this programming language or
Right.
that's an interesting database tech. Like I've never heard of that before. What else could we use it for? I think that stuff is amazing to get people thinking, as
Hmm.
well as the engineer gets the time to like engineer, because a lot of times as an
Yeah.
IC, you're not like you're not out there writing a whole new product on your own
Right.
generally. It's that you're break fix here and there. Maybe you're on call for something, that kind of thing. So it's a little bit different than the rose colored glasses that you've got coming out of university. It's like, I'm gonna make a startup and we're gonna sell shovels and it's gonna be fantastic. And lo and behold, you end up making what we were talking about today, a link shortener. And
Yeah.
this is your project for 3 years, a link shortener, which I have done. Full disclosure, in the past.
So I mean, the two that I remember as being the coolest ones that I
Now,
saw.
now, don't divulge any cool internal secrets here that we might still be working
Well, I
on.
mean, it's been 2 years since I was at the company. 3 years. Sorry, 3 years since I was at the company. So anything I remember, and these are like from the early days. I would think that these are from when we were still at 286 Fifth Avenue. So
Well,
when we still had the roof deck. And one was a H-top integration, which I've mentioned on here before.
yes, I'm still hyper about it. Yeah, anything CLI.
And then the other one was a Datadog in Minecraft.
Right.
And those were just so cool. Useless, but cool.
Yes.
Um,
I agree on
and
all points. Like nobody wants to run around Minecraft, responding to pages and
no,
fixing monitors
no.
and stuff like that. However, cool, absolutely. You could do that in
And
VR.
and something like that kind of thing, but it wasn't part of a hackathon. Just something I remember doing was, when the Mac still had the touch bar, having my Datadog graphs in the touch bar
This is why you missed
was
the
it's something so easy to do.
right. Yeah, I think we've finally got spark lines, for example, which I'm not sure if that's what you're alluding to, but those minimized graphs that you can have
Right.
besides cells and spreadsheets and stuff like that are actually really cool. And I
Mm.
feel like this kind of, maybe it's finance graphing, but some of that's starting to percolate into the observability industry. I'm starting to see
Right.
are the candle graphs where you've got like a min and a max on the data point,
Right.
as opposed to just the point itself, which is interesting to me. Yes,
Mm.
I'm here for different graph types. Eventually, we'll get a speedometer. I'm just
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tried to explain this, and again, I apologize to anybody who really knows graphing. Speedometer is not the greatest, but I tried to explain to somebody internally that a speedometer is just a half a donut chart, which is really just a pie chart with a circle on top of it.
Right.
Like, listen, all you got to do is divide this by 2, hide the bottom half, put a circle in the V. The speedometer is there. You're good to go. It did not go over well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
good topic for Oversupper.
Yeah.
Every instance. So we got new models. We talked
Yeah.
a little bit about Every as well offline. No, I don't mean to be.
This is maybe we just rename this
Just
the
the Every
Matt and Ryan
podcast.
chat to the Every podcast. Yeah,
But
we
just
always talk about Every.
Well, yeah. Okay, so there's, I guess, my soapbox topic, and I stole this from A16Z's podcast, but it's when we're solving boring problems with Gen AI that I actually get interested in. One of these is forms.
Mhm.
It's a combination of two of my favorite topics: forms, calendars, like the very
Right.
boring things. But honestly, if you can fix forms for me, I'll be very happy. I was extremely
Yeah.
happy when I think it was Typeform came out, and it had like
Mhm.
keyboard shortcuts with nice little
Yep.
obvious buttons that you like hit enter here.
Yep.
This is like 5 keystrokes to finish this form. You're
Right.
on it. Or the ones that give you a time estimate, phenomenal.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
one, which we did, we referred to it last time on the podcast, but Freeform, I think, was the form system you were talking about that can automatically adjust based on the person answering the form. Is that correct?
Is it Freeform? I thought isn't that the app in Apple iOS? That's
Oh,
not.
no, we were talking about 2 different things then. All right. Well, tell me about Freeform then. Why do you like Freeform?
No. I'm thinking, is Freeform not the right term?
Oh, no, I think it is. Yes.
It is,
It's an
okay.
AI-powered
'Cause isn't
tool for
that-
creating smart adaptive
Okay.
forms
Okay.
from January
Okay.
8th.
Because I thought that Freeform was the name of the like kind of Canvas like app
It is.
in
Yes,
iOS.
yes.
Oh, it's the same thing.
It is
same
also
term.
that, but
Okay,
they're not
okay.
the same thing, of course. Hey, we've got
Okay.
the same name from
Yeah.
multiple things. Because of course.
Yes.
But yes, it is that as well as the Apple
Yes.
jot down with pencil stuff. If not your finger,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
some finger painting it too. Yeah. But I feel like forms are ripe to be, you know, disrupted. Maybe is the word.
Hmm.
Disrupt. Maybe it's a bit too big of a word, but they're ripe for innovation. Maybe is a better term here. And I feel like this might be a good way to do it. Now, I'm not thinking external forums, which is what I think they're thinking about, like getting your customers
Right.
to ask answer questions. I'm thinking about, because I've done a lot of years in IT help desk. I'm thinking of internal forums for like customer satisfaction, but your
Hmm.
customers are like your internal users. Where, and again, maybe I'm a little bit pessimist here, but where a form changing all the time might not matter so much, but the quality of the answers that you get back are going to be very, very helpful. And it might be that maybe you've got an internal beta program. We were talking about closed betas, that kind of stuff before. Like this sort of thing looks like what I want to get for feedback. For example, at Samsung, I used to test a lot of the what's it called? The mobile device MDM, I think it's called, mobile device management software that we have for enterprise. And they get me to go through their forms and the website and the back end and things like that, and give them, do you think this information is presented in the right way? A form like this would be really handy to get feedback from people in that way without doing interviews, because it looks similar to the interview flow when you're doing user feedback. Like, hey, Matt, you tried this, and then what happened? You tried that, then what happened? I feel like that might be like a good place to start, like that internal feedback, or maybe the beta feedback, or perhaps it's your like upward feedback for your manager, something like that, like a little bit where the stakes aren't too high, but you can actually get more free form. I hate to use the term free form answers, and because of that, you'll get more value out of it. That's kind of what I was thinking as this sort of like the thrust, the benefit of this product. But I don't know. That was my take initially. And you're just like, yeah, forms.
I'm, yeah, forums.
Farms, man.
Um, I would love to see
Like it.
more. I'd love to see more on it.
Well,
But
they had a sample, right, that I went through. It was
yeah,
something about a profile. What was it? Every archetype experiment, which I did go through, and I
yes.
found pretty interesting. Mine was well, I guess it's for everybody. The first question is, how do you think your year went last year in 2024? I could possibly post a link here in the
So
chat.
I have it
Yep.
on the screen right now.
Oh, perfect. My apologies.
Before we begin, do you have anything specific you want to reflect on?
Right.
My chats with Ryan.
Oh no, we're doing this live. This can be awful.
Continue.
Now, did you notice
Continue.
how
Oh,
fast it is?
and is there? Oh, did I? Maybe I. Did I? Oh yeah, no. And is there anything you don't want to cover in your reflection?
Uh,
Um,
uh,
Ryan's
breath.
sleep patterns.
Fair enough.
Okay. Continue. It seems to like delay a bit.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Uh,
On my end, it was really fast, as well as I thought the ability to speak my answer was pretty cool. But
what did these conversations with Ryan teach you about yourself?
how smart
New
Ryan is.
question. How did your conversations with Ryan change over time?
Ah, that's pretty cool.
They got worse.
One thing I did want to point out is I didn't use the new question part, but I think
Ah,
like even at this juncture, because this is kind of like question one. This is where we're really like using
right.
the AI part. I feel like that distinction between those two questions is minute in terms of like at this point in the survey, but the entire survey will now change as a result of you picking that new question and that new answer that you've given to the new question, which is mind-boggling to me. I
Yeah,
feel like that's fantastic. It's almost like a choose your own adventure kind of thing.
it is. It is. Although
Which
it's weird, every time I click on continue, nothing happens, and then I click
oh
continue again, and something happens.
oh interesting. It's one of those.
What
Hmm.
surprised you about yourself this past year?
Oh,
Ah,
how much better I feel when I'm fit. Sorry, I'm just
how
putting words in
much
your mouth.
better I feel. Oh, I'm not typing anywhere.
Ooh.
How how much better I feel
And in the
after
chat, Stanley's trying
speaking
to nerd snipe us here.
to Ryan.
We will get to you, Stanley.
What new skill or knowledge surprised you by how much you enjoyed learning it?
Um,
Wow. Well, this could take a while.
it
So,
could.
anyway.
I feel like YouTube. Yeah, get better at YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Surprised you how much you enjoyed getting better at YouTube. Continue.
Move this drink.
Showing more information if you want it. Okay. What activities made you lose track of time? Okay. To Ryan.
Not mowing the lawn. We covered that one. Yeah.
What message do you hope to share through your content?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
How to get better
Okay.
as a prompt engineer. At any
Yeah.
rate, as people can
Anyway,
probably see,
yeah.
that is changing as Matt's going through because it's asking Matt questions about the answers that Matt gave in the question prior to
Yeah.
that. And I feel like this is, I don't want to say disruptive, but it's pretty close to disruptive when it comes to those open-ended questions. Now,
Right.
where I don't want to
Now-
see this is in a technical interview. Is like my one cautionary thing in my brain. Because it could.
But when you do any sort of survey, the value isn't in the one answer; it's in all the answers and
Right.
getting them all, so
Yeah,
that you
good
can
luck.
figure out.
Yeah, good luck tabulating these answers.
Yeah,
Right. So like, if it's what is it, the DevOps Zedora survey? Like, nah, it's not gonna
yeah.
apply for Zedora.
I don't know if this provides now.
Personal feedback.
Maybe
like,
that is their.
Yeah, go
That
ahead.
what would be great to see is what does this look like on the back end? Are we able to, map everything into
Right.
onto one scale that says here's how everything.
I could not think of a way to do it. I thought
Yeah.
about it for a
Well,
minute.
maybe that's what's special. That
Oh,
the
fair
person at the person running this survey will see all of the all the people are generally doing this.
I'm also not much of a survey scientist here. I realize there's like an entire science around this.
Yeah.
proper
Oh, I
surveys and
mean, I
deviation.
remember, just dealing with even it's not quite a survey, but doing certifications is
Right. yeah.
coming up with the right good questions
Yeah.
that are good questions. I mean, there are questions you can come up with you'd think are good, but somebody who is really good at asking those types of certification questions will say, well, there's a lot of holes in that question, or there's a lot of random, things that don't make sense in that question. And
Right.
then you see the question that they come up with for the same thing and think, well, they look the same.
Yeah.
What's different?
Some it feels like legalese a little bit too, but they're like,
Yeah.
because there could be multiple different answers here, so you can't use all of the above and blah blah blah. It's like I
And the
get it, but also
companies-
it's nerve wracking.
There's like two main companies that do certifications for,
Right.
for large software. And you talk to those people and they are some of the more like boring conversations, but they're really good at what they do. And they
Yeah.
charge a bit of money for it.
Yes.
And it's a painful process. And certifications started just as I was leaving Datadog.
And did you do like beta ones at Microsoft? Because I've done one beta exam at Microsoft
No.
that I passed. Luckily,
Mhm.
knock on wood. I mean, knock on wood, it already happened, but like I somehow passed. I think the pass rates on the beta ones are lower, so I think it might have been 65 instead of 75. And I believe I got 74%, which would have been a fail basically if it wasn't a beta kind of thing. But it looks like what they do is they use the beta answers to improve the test going forward, and you get to write a cheaper rate. So for me, it was kind of win-win. No harm, no foul if I fail, kind of thing.
Right.
But I passed, so I was happy.
Right.
I guess maybe in my brain, this is kind of like that process a little bit in terms of the fact that it can change over time, but it would be difficult to tabulate if there weren't like versioned. Like Matt certified on version 1 kind of thing, so I can tabulate that with all the other version 1 kind of people. But there's no standard path going between them. It seems difficult for me to tabulate. But again,
Right.
not a scientist in the writing of surveys, so
Right.
perhaps this is the secret sauce that Every gives us.
Yeah.
One more thing, kind of in this boring area, I sent you another link for I just
Uh-oh.
want. Sorry, I realize this might be well, like a hot button topic for you, but uh, in terms of writing user guides for people, which I've done in the
Mm.
past, prior to coming to Datadog, in fact, at companies like Samsung and other larger companies, we would take screenshots and then write little descriptions below them and walk people through how to use a piece of software. Like
Right.
Gmail was one. Like you're moving from Outlook to Gmail. Here
Right.
are some things you need. Here's how to set up your signature in
Right.
Gmail. That kind of stuff, which is untrivial, unfortunately. Um, and what that looks like. So we'd walk people through, give them screenshots, that kind of stuff. Sure as heck, or HEW hockey sticks, the week after, all the screenshots would need to be changed.
Yeah.
Or Google, because infinite wisdom, they would hide it in the menu 3 levels deep. That's cool.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't need it at the top of the menu, but it meant that we'd have to redo our docs.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those things that it gets to the point where you decide to not have screenshots is one of them. So you don't like
Yep.
there's less stuff to change. The next might be in terms of the way that you talk about the UI. You might not say look for this and click this. You may say
Right.
now advance to the next section kind of thing.
Right.
Exercise the reader to figure out what the heck where the button has moved
Yeah.
now. But like that's up to you. So that's kind of what we do. Is more like high level guidance as opposed to like
Yeah.
low level walk me
More
through
generic.
hand kind of thing. More generic.
Less useful.
Less exactly. I feel like it's less useful, but it also means less labor, less overhead. But
Yeah.
I understand why it's important, especially in something that changes all the time. So
Yeah.
I sent you a link to, I think it's called Guide. It's got 2 Ds,
Mhm.
GUIDDE, which promises to essentially take a video of you, I don't know, muttering to yourself while you walk somebody through a piece of software, but it won't record your audio. It will intuit what you're trying to tell
Right.
users as they're going through whatever web-based something that you're trying to walk them through. So, for example, again, as a Datadog employee, or maybe as someone who used to work at Samsung, might be onboarding. How do I sign up to a particular app?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you're not going to show the email flow part, but then you get the first login and what that looks like, some things that you want to hit the first steps. Done. Like you've logged in, you've given yourself a proper account name, maybe you've changed your profile picture, you've logged out. That sounds like an easy
Right.
process, right? It could be 10 minutes depending on the user.
Right.
It looks like it will record your screen and then describe the process of what you're doing, where you click, and take screenshots as you go of things that seem to be important steps, which to me is like all singing, all dancing. First
Right.
problem is it will do voiceover. The voiceover is I want to be charitable here. Can we say bottom tier? Is that nice enough? It's not
Yeah.
great in the age of 11 labs. Like it's really not. It's not acceptable. It is maybe what I'd say. I think most users are now expecting a chat UI that's much better than this. Like it's not even as good as Amazon Alexa or Google Home or whatever. It's just
Right.
not on that level at all. Even Siri or Bixby would be a lot better in it at this point in time because it seems like they've cheaped out on the text-to-speech portion. But you can also voice over it if you want to, which is pretty cool. But it's already done recording, so I feel like maybe you could have used that. Anyway, it feels like there's a missed opportunity in the front end of this. As opposed to the
But
back end.
this still doesn't solve the problem that you mentioned at the beginning, where the screenshots are changing.
You have to record it again.
You have to record it, so it's making
to
it
record
easier to record.
Making it easier to record, and it will handle a lot of the write-up stuff about like your mouse over here and click on this big blue button, because that kind of stuff will do. But you definitely like you're right, you do need to record it again, or have some sort of automation that could move the mouse for you. But then it's a little bit complicated because you'd almost want to time it, like every 3 months.
Right.
Log on to the Datadog site and sign
Right.
up for a new account and like describe the
Right.
process, because who knows what those screens are going to look like. I don't think our
Yeah.
sign up process has changed in years, but like some companies do. Google decided to make
Mhm.
things, I think, horizontal instead of vertical at some point in time
Mhm.
recently, as an example. That kind
Yeah,
of stuff. But you're right. It
I mean,
does look
this
like you
is-
need to re-record.
I remember using a tool before I joined Datadog when I was, before Playster and Yoda, but like back at OpenText days when I was a trainer.
Right.
It was called something like Blue Canary, except it's not Blue Canary because that's the name of a car wash here on Bainbridge Island. But it was something like that, Blue something. And you would have you go through the website or whatever you were doing. There was a keyboard shortcut. You press the keyboard shortcut, and it takes this the screenshot, puts it in a document, and then you type in a description, and it adds that as the caption to the, and not, you don't have to like click your mouse somewhere else. It just did all those things, and you go through all the steps. So this, for what this is doing is it's, I guess, if it's creating the video process. Okay,
Like,
so that
because you
sounds
could
pretty
record
interesting.
a video of your desktop, and I've done that before.
Yeah.
Like my
Yeah.
walkthrough, it just like can just be a video. So at STEMTEL, a lot of our
Yeah.
training was just
I
me
mean, this is
voiceover
what,
talking about something, right? Using Snagit or what have you.
and this is what Loom has been doing
Right.
for a while, right?
Right.
But this is trying to make it a little bit less about, with a Loom, you are hearing the individual who recorded it, and this is trying to make it more anybody can do it for the company, and they all the videos will say on the same, like it's the same person.
Right. Some of this, I guess, on my end, one of it's like an accessibility play. So some people really would prefer to have things written as opposed to video. I get it. Also, I found people who prefer video as opposed to written. Totally get that too. This seems to bridge both of those gaps, so that's good because I generally do one or the other. I'm not going to do
Yep.
both. So I get that. So you can kind of get two pieces out of it. But at the end of the day, I really do feel like a human narrating is better than the voice
Yeah.
or the way that they've done this. But I feel like 11 Labs could solve that problem. It's just like
Yeah.
another ask. What I'm really interested in though is the competitors. So if you're talking about this, is it Blue Iris or Blue Box or Big Blue Button, Blue Effects, Blue Training?
Yeah.
No, none of that.
No,
rings
I
a
can't
bell?
remember what it
Blue
was
Drop?
called.
Okay, I did
Yeah.
look for a Blue Training System, couldn't find one.
Yeah.
But there are pieces of software like Loom that do this, Snagit that does this. There are screen recording software pieces that can do this for you. In fact, like one of our teammates, for example, would upload stuff to Google on a video and then take the automated captions that come in and then download those as a transcript, for example, which can be pretty handy. And you can put that into audio by crafting, like removing the timestamps and all that stuff. But it's just convoluted. There are better ways of doing this kind of thing. What I'm interested in is like what the competitors look like, what this landscape looks like. As soon as there are two or three people, like, oh,
Right.
let me try my hand out, because I would love to be able to separate the kind of find part on screen that makes you go next,
Right.
describes in Gen AI, and then some other system doing the recording and the transcription. Because what I don't want to do is record the same video again, because I could just distribute the same video. So that's my only
Right.
caveat here, is if it's going to take me 30 minutes anyway, I might as well just spend the 30 minutes. And I get all the stuff outside of it is cool, but those seem like new artifacts as opposed to something that I would have done anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm optimist and pessimist here, but I want to see more competition in this area because it does look like a boring problem, and it's legitimately like an important way of how do you say this? Like an important way of helping growth is to get more people signed up to your product. So making the product easier to sign up with and having videos that show you how to do, product onboarding or what have you is actually pretty handy. I'm sure you've seen the ones where you go into a certain like portion of the app and it's like, oh, this is a new feature. I'm gonna take over your whole freaking screen and like make you watch a video. That's cool too. But like, have you seen the ones that are guided where the mouse moves around and stuff? Like it'll be like, hey, next step is move your mouse over here, and you do it. You click it, and like some confetti goes off or something. Like, hey, congratulations, you submitted your first Datadog monitor or what have you. I find those systems are pretty cool, but like I'd like to see that as kind of an output of this, as opposed to just like a Confluence or SharePoint doc.
Right.
Yeah, I already want the moon. Now that I've got a little a taste of.
So it lists a couple of competitors on their website. Tango, Scribe. Scribe is one that I forwarded to you earlier.
Right.
And then there was some other company as well.
Right. And I believe I tried Scribe a long time ago. Oh, this looks pretty cool. It looks quite a bit different than what I recall.
Yeah. Interesting.
But the training stuff is. It feels like companies are now placing a bit more importance of growth on like an easy, like easy acquisition basically. So once we've got people on that screen, make sure they can sign up to your system very easily. I think the Hacker News or A16Z thing would be like, let me try your thing without signing up. I don't think everyone's got that memo yet, but we're getting to a point where people understand that sign up process is key. If monthly active users is what you want to show, then making it easy to have a new user is important.
I use a tool. It's unrelated, but you made a comment about their like text to speech part being really terrible.
No, well, I
Uh,
said bottom tier, I think.
Bottom tier. Okay, it's
But
kind of
they may
like
be synonyms.
I use a tool for reading my news feeds called InnoReader, something like
Okay.
that, and they've got a new interface. And there's a feature on there. Maybe it's been there a while. I just noticed it today that it will try to read the article to you. I thought,
Hmm.
well, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I've had after trying that 11 Labs reader on my phone,
Right.
which was spectacular. It's like,
Right.
is it going to be as good as that? And so
No.
I brought it up,
There's no
and
way.
like I'm looking at the Tango webpage, and there's like a little blurb, and you have the way it sounded when I had it read to me was like, we're building a future of work where processes are easier to
Right. Because
document
they've got
and
like
faster
hard
to
enters in the web code or something.
follow. Yeah,
Hard
I mean,
enter.
there were all these spaces, like what? Like
Yeah.
sometimes in the middle of words,
Right.
like this is useless.
It's
Turn off, and then I couldn't find the off button. It's like
utterly
where the
ridiculous.
off button go? I don't want to listen to this garbage.
Now, last week we talked about Notebook LM a little bit in terms of that podcast,
Mm,
the two people podcast. I think you brought up. I had not heard it
mm,
before, but since then I watched one of those, like a demo video, and I was extremely impressed. It's kind of like a podcast between you and I, where the
mm.
person will stutter just like I do. Will have like
Yeah,
pausing words like and it sounds very natural, and some of them are pithy responses as you do, like you're shuffling for time. How do I? Oh, Matt's opening the door for his dog. Like, let's waste some time here, kind of thing. It's super believable, like to the point
mm,
it's uncanny valley believable. The
yeah.
two-person
I
podcast version of Notebook
I was
LM.
referring to the one in 11 Labs Reader.
Right, I didn't know that. Sorry.
Okay.
Gotcha. I didn't realize they could do two people in the 11 Lab one.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
It takes like 30 seconds to start or a minute to start, but then you hear
Yeah,
it. It's like, oh, that's really cool. But it
it's
reminded me so much of the early videos on Channel 9. Do you remember? I don't know if Channel 9 is still a thing.
it's still around. Yeah.
On the Microsoft
Mhm.
podcast
I think
stuff.
I was a guest
And
2 years ago. Not to prop myself up here or anything.
well, you were?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Wow.
I've been on there at least once, if not twice. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely something I was involved in was on there twice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I remember early on listening to them, and what sometimes they would be like real interviews, but then
Right.
like actually talking and like learning about something. But sometimes the two people on knew whatever the product was, and they knew it really well. But
Yeah.
one played the part of being the idiot and
Yeah.
asking questions, and it's always came off as like, oh my god, just point me to the documentation. I'm gonna skip this episode.
It's funny you say that because I actually had the opposite reaction to be like, I know you know this, and you're playing dumb, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, it
Like
just
I know
drives me
everyone's
nuts.
gonna know that you're playing dumb, but like it's not authentic. I think is maybe what you're saying, right? And because of that, the inauthenticity sort of rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't care about it. It's like, oh, okay, I just don't care about this.
I think the last one I watched was on like RBAC policies or something for
Yeah,
Azure. It's like a very boring topic, but yeah,
yeah,
definitely both presenters knew what they were talking about. One was
yeah.
presenting like, "Oh, when would that be
Oh,
useful, Matt?"
yeah,
It's so obvious. It's just like
yeah,
layups. It's layup after layup, easy
yeah,
buttons all day long.
yeah.
Uh,
Awful.
Oh shoot, we've been ranting for a minute here. Do you have any checkouts we should know about? Things that we should watch or listen to or purchase? Do you have any
Um,
other shills that we should sign up for? Referral codes?
um.
Buy every folks. We're trying to get them as a sponsor.
Well, I've got a. Well, one thing
Yep.
interesting happened last week. I crossed over the 50,000 subscriber mark
Woo! I wish we had like
on YouTube.
reactions or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
put the
yeah.
balloons and
Confetti.
yeah, that's
Can't we
fantastic.
like
Congratulations.
do
I,
this?
I
And
don't think
does that?
so. I might have this turned off.
No.
Yeah, I did get it turned off. Sorry.
Yeah. Um,
Let's see if I can start them. Oh, there we go. No. Oh,
Oh,
we did it. For those of
excellent,
you
excellent.
listening to the podcast, I turned on a reaction and we had some
Yes.
fire behind it. That was
um, and then I put out like a new version of my my not new version a new uh, a- an email for my newsletter. I have a newsletter that I said is roughly monthly, but it's like this is the third one in about a year. So I like finally
I,
moving forward.
no, you're in good company. I think I've mentioned him before, but Michael Cote, who used to work at VMware, and I think Dell
Mm-hmm.
Turbine, I think might be a little bit different now that Broadcom, I believe, owns them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, does a newsletter, and it at some point I feel like it might have been once a year at some point in time. Sometimes it's 3 times a month. So listen, I wouldn't worry about
Yeah.
that too much. I think the main thing is as long as the content is good, no one's gonna get angry at you for not producing something once a month.
Right.
I think you're
Right.
totally fine. Yeah, I think that's more
Um,
acceptable. As long as the quality is up there, I don't think quantity matters too much.
oh,
What you looking for there?
quality is spectacular.
Of course,
Of course. Hold on one second.
no worries. While Matt's looking around, I'm looking around my desk too. I try not to talk about something like a battery charger or a battery bank because I seem to purchase those quite a bit. Let's see what he's got.
So I got something like I got this like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then I forgot about it.
Oh,
And it's just sitting behind something, and just forgot about it. A tool set.
oh,
So this is
is this the one that came
um,
with the anti-static?
yeah,
There
yeah.
you go.
So it's from
Fantastic.
Fantech.
Fantastic.
But what's neat about it is that it kind of folds out. And it's got this little pad, and it's magnetic pad, so your screws will like
Screws there.
stay there. And then it opens up, and there's all those the little like pry bars and all those tweezers and stuff, and then underneath are all the bits like screw bit for like dozens and dozens of sizes, along with a little cubby for the screws to go into. So you can close that up and
like
come
it.
back to it tomorrow. And then the little screwdriver that turn on, and now it is got a little light on the end,
Ooh.
and it's just really nice. And then it plugs into there, and you can
It sounds
charge
pretty
it.
high torque.
It's pretty nice.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I just got that, and it's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Fantech. It's the same company. I think there's a number of these that they all look kind of the same.
Right.
Fantech and Hoto, and I
Right.
think it's the same. Like, is it Samsung or
I'm not sure.
it might be Samsung?
These look pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Fentech tools. They've got like tire inflators, soldering iron kits. Wow,
Yes,
soldering iron.
I have the Hoto vacuum slash. So let me close this up. Vacuum, which is actually what's neat about the vacuum is that it's basically this tube, and one end it sucks in and it pushes out, and so there's no.
Listen, now I'm no expert about vacuums, but I'm pretty sure there needs to be a receptacle.
Yeah, so with the vacuum, there's actually a bag or a place for the stuff to go right as it getting sucked in,
Gotcha.
and then there's a place for it, and then but the air goes all the way through this tube and shoots out the other side. So now you've got a vacuum, and there's attachments for the vacuum, or you can attach attachments to the other side, and it's a blower.
Gotcha.
And so now there's this nozzle that goes down to really small, so you can blow your keyboard or whatever.
Oh, instead of like a little like a compressed air can.
Compressed air, and it's very strong.
That's good because I bought the electronic compressed air stuff and they were awful, so
And-
bad.
And it's USB-C charged, and the charge lasts a long time.
Nice.
that, and then I have from before the Hoto larger screwdriver, and that's been amazing. I'm like, it holds the charge really well. It is now the one screwdriver we basically have at all times in the house for projects. Like we have this dresser in my daughter's room. It's this cheap IKEA dresser that always falls apart. The door comes off it. And so I ended up just taking two little blocks of wood. We don't really care what this thing looks like, but two little bits of wood, drill a hole into the the basically having this block of wood as a brace inside the drawer, and to screw the door onto it and screw it onto the from the side. So drill it into all the way to have a place for the screw to go, and then screw in these the screws into it, and that was and I don't think I've charged it since putting together our shelf system in our hallway, which is 7 shelves, 10 feet long, with a bazillion screws that were involved. And it's still holding a charge, and I've drilled and I've screwed, and it's amazing.
It's got to be battery tech. I hate to say it, like I definitely have a soapbox item for like battery, but there's to get that amount of charge as well as the torque. Yeah. We're fundamentally changing the way batteries work, which is awesome.
Yeah. So those are my two things. I feel like I watched something else that was really great. Oh, we're finally going through
Landman Silo.
One of the Star Trek where it's Michael Burnham is the captain, and it takes place a bit in the future. It's really pretty good. The current season feels more like it's a mixture of Star Trek and National Treasure.
Interesting.
You remember those movies?
I do. Yes.
I loved National Treasure.
Really?
There's so much.
Okay.
There's such
Maybe I need
a
to
fun.
rewatch it.
It's a fun movie because it's it's Nicolas Cage and Zan Zan.
I'm not a fan of Nicolas Cage. Maybe this is another one of those actors I need.
Okay? So this is something you often like. It's like I don't like this movie because this particular actor is like I can't get past this particular actor.
Nicolas Cage and Ghost Rider, I think, ruined Nicolas Cage for me. We've probably brought this up before.
I couldn't care less who's. When I'm watching a movie, I couldn't care less who's in the movie. Like, whatever. Okay, I'm just focused on the movie. And anyway, so National Treasures, because like this fun treasure hunt, like all the good parts of the original book, the Da Vinci Code. It's a fun book where you're on this series of puzzles that you need to solve, and that's what they're doing with this series on the Star Trek series. I can't remember which one it's called.
Solving puzzles.
Solving puzzles. Yeah, it's actually it is. They're basically trying to put together this object, and they need pieces, and each piece is an episode that they're trying going all over the galaxy looking for these pieces.
Like a role playing game I played when I was 9.
It's pretty cool. It's
pretty cool. And there's little fragments in it. Sorry.
And then I'm super excited that there's a new continuation of the latest season of Outlander. So we'll probably turn on Stars pretty soon.
I was not aware of that, but Outlander is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know how much
what do you
recommend, but I got a DJI. This is the second time getting a DJI wireless mic combo thing. That was a Wireless Go 2. I think I've told the story about the wireless one's demise here before, but I will say I got a new puppy. I put the wireless one on the puppy. The puppy went away and shook. Puppy's It went somewhere. We never did find it. So I still got the receiver. Don't have the mic. I got a hand-me-down of I think it's Wireless Go 2 or the Wireless Go 2 Mini or something. But it's got 2. And now I've got 2 puppies. So it would stand to reason that I should definitely put both mics on both dogs and test this out. So this is I'll report back once I got the gimbal and the wireless mic.
Put an AirTag attached to it as well or something so that you can find it again.
The dog should have an AirTag anyway, but yeah, agreed. Put one on
Yeah.
both in case they get separated.
Yeah. Attach it to the microphone, not the dog. I mean, you'll find the dog because the dog come back to you
I
eventually.
think both would be handy.
I mean, we have a device attached to the dog already. It's Fi, I think it's called Fi.
Is it like
Um,
implanted or is it like just
no,
on
it's just
the
on the collar,
collar? On the collar. Okay. Fi.
and it's a GPS, so we can see on a map where the dog is right now when she runs
Right.
off.
I mean, I do need
Um,
that. It's kind of what I was
yeah,
alluding to. Yeah. And
that's great.
AirTags are great, but I'd rather actually have like a proper GPS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a competing product, Halo, which is terrible,
Mm,
but the Fi is really good.
very cool. Now,
Um,
before we end though, we did get one comment, in fact, about
mm,
Fi. So it would be,
mm.
we should touch on this
Fi
one.
spelled a different way.
In fact, Fi. I'm assuming yours is Fi and this is Phi.
Yes.
Okay, got you. So Stanley was talking about Phi 4, which I, full disclosure, have not played with, but I have played with the preceding one, which I thought was Phi
Yeah.
3, and it also quite tiny and definitely a beast,
Yeah.
at least for 3.
Yeah.
So if it's any better than it
Amazing.
was before, or any
Yeah.
smaller, then Stanley's absolutely right. So I do want to try this.
Yeah.
I think it, as we were talking about, like having the smartest AGI model is definitely
Yeah.
awesome. Offline, the fact that you can use it to make commercial stuff is cool. I really do think though that the future is going to be in the tinier models that
Yep.
might not be
Yep.
masters of every subject, that are like maybe
Yep.
purpose built for. I think Phi's strength is kind of in human conversation, but it does
Mm-hmm.
actually excel at coding and I think math, funnily enough.
Mm.
But definitely worth a look if you've not played with a smaller model that's good. I think this would be good. I think the one that compares to this would be, is it Llama 3.2 that is tiny? I think Llama 3.2 is
Yeah,
it.
that offers a 1 and a 3B. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I feel like it's sort of like
And
that.
there's a number of others that are in that small size. There's some that are in the
Oh, okay. I
half
wasn't aware
billion
of that.
size.
Okay.
Sometimes the ones that are really, really small, like, it's amazing that they can do what they can do,
Great.
but they're pretty
But
bad
also, yeah.
in
But
generally.
also, yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's amazing that they can do what they can do.
Yeah. And then Joe just popped in a comment as well, saying that the every form, so the one we were talking about that adapts, reminded them of Eliza. And Eliza's
Mm.
come up quite a bit recently in
Yeah,
terms of. So Eliza was, I think, the first quote unquote like chat application for a computer that would seem to adapt, but really it was an expert system. So it was like a series of nested ifs, if I understand this properly, which is a
yeah.
gargantuan amount of nested ifs, is how Eliza works.
It,
But yeah, we are
as
getting
soon
to
as
that
it,
point.
as
Go ahead.
soon as you got to a point where it didn't have any idea how to respond to the question, it would always say, "And how does that make you feel?" or something like that. And I was like, "Well,
That sounds like
well,
therapy to
and
me.
how does
Is
that
my
make you
therapist
feel?"
running Eliza? How does that make you feel? And then another chime in from VastCNC. So awesome. Thank you very much for the folks in the chat for commenting.
There
And
was
thank you all.
some deep seek discussion, yes,
There was, in fact.
from Vast CNC. We're getting all our questions right at the end.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think that covers all of it. Shall
Um,
we, what about yourself?
I
Anything
feel
else?
like there was one other thing. Something it's like, I gotta say this, and then I forgot what it was.
You got to write it down.
Yeah,
Do you take
yeah.
notes? Yeah, have you been talking to an LLM note taker or anything? I've been trying.
That would be a good thing to do.
I have been talking to Gen AI on walks.
Hmm.
I've done it 3 times at this point in time. I found
Hmm.
that my biggest issue is captive Wi-Fi portals that want me to log in as I'm just
Oh
walking
yeah,
around. That
yeah,
I've been on before, and then it will kind of get confused in terms of like, do you have network or not? If I turn the Wi-Fi off and go for a walk, it'll use a little bit of data, but it's
yeah.
surprisingly interesting. I mean, who needs friends at this point?
Right.
But as a note taker, it's pretty good because you get the session back when you come back to your computer. You'll see all the questions and answers.
So when I mean, you're in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and although we're that not far away from each other, we are in
Right?
different countries.
Yes.
And does Canadian phone plans, do they often include like unlimited data?
No. Also, I am probably the worst person to ask about phone plans because I've had mine grandfathered for a long time ago. Just
Mm.
for the chat, because this is going to bother everybody. I pay $60, maybe 65 a month for about 6 gigs of data. So not great,
Mm,
but nowhere close to that data cap on using this. Just for like a couple
right.
sessions here and there, it's not even close. The tokens, on the other hand, do be careful of the model you're using. GPT-4 is
Okay.
more than enough. O1, even O1 Mini, I think I've run out of credits on both of those before.
Hmm.
Um, just it uses a lot of tokens, and you only get so much per account. I'm not paying for the $200 a month one. I've got
Right,
the
right.
lower tier. But yeah, GPT-4 for the most part is pretty good, especially
Hmm.
because you can do back and forth. You're wasting tokens on the back and forth, but they're not as expensive, so it's not that bad.
Yeah,
But you might have to correct them, like, oh, by the way, in the Azure documentation, I did in
right.
fact see that you can run Linux workstations in
Hmm.
Azure App Service or what have you. Just an
Mm,
example is close to home, but like some of these
right,
you may need to reiterate and say like, oh, that's a little bit old. This is more recent, that kind of thing.
right.
The cutoff might be different or what have you, but for for all intents and purposes, it's perfectly fine.
So two other things that have come up recently. So there's a new update
Yep.
to Windsurf,
Okay. Which is
which
the
adds a whole bunch.
Yep.
It's like a kind of an AI IDE tool,
Oh, the
which is
editor.
great.
My apologies. Yes, from
I
Codereader.
love this thing. Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's made it even better. And then another update, unrelated to anything AI related, but Penpot.
Hmm.
Do you know about Penpot? I think I've mentioned Penpot before. It's a alternative to Figma.
You have in fact mentioned this. Yes, a long
That
time ago.
it got, it started to get popular when who bought Figma? Like Adobe, was it?
Adobe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
So
of people
when
were glad.
people wanted to bail on Figma because of Adobe, Penpot got more, and it's like pretty much dead on 1-to-1 feature compatible, and it's for most people, most individuals, it's totally free, and you can self-host it if you want. But recently they added plugins, and these plugins are the developer workflow for working with these plugins is kind of amazing in
Hmm.
that you can design. So the plugin will be able to read and write the content from the user's Figma, or sorry, Penpot environment. So you've designed a website. You've designed a
Hmm.
website, and you have to give it permission. But once you've given it permission, then it can work with anything on that screen,
Oh.
and
Oh, wow.
maybe add what the example was, the initial example was lorem ipsum. You've got this block, fill it with lorem ipsum.
Hmm.
But another example that somebody, or another plugin that somebody's created, is as you're working with this thing, there's a window that's constantly updating, showing the full HTML with Tailwind variables
Yeah, that's
all set up,
very
and it's just
wow.
like instant. But what's really great as a developer, often with these tools that have plugins, when you update the plugin, you need to now bring down the service and
Right.
rebuild, and then bring up the service and wait 5 seconds, 10 seconds for it to build, and then you can start working with it. So it's like
Right.
this delay of 30 seconds or a minute from the time you say build to the time you're good to go. With this, you just have to make sure that the manifest and all the code is available somewhere, like on GitHub,
Hmm.
and then you point the you tell the tell Penpot where the manifest is somewhere
Hmm.
online, or it can be a local host if you want it, but
Okay.
normally it would be on GitHub. You point it at that, and now you make your changes, and you push those, or so you tell Penpot where it is, and now you
Hmm.
start working with it in Penpot in within one. You're adding boxes or whatever you're doing. You make a change to your code, and make that manifest available. So if it's on localhost, it's really fast. You just make that
Hmm.
available. If it's on GitHub, okay, you push to GitHub, and now it's available. There's no refreshing the. It didn't look like there was any refreshing of the Penpot UI. It's just
Oh,
now working with the new stuff, and it's
interesting.
like instant. It
Does it
is
require
so
access
cool.
to the GitHub repo? Like, can it? Is it like a hook or something like that, where the repo is letting it know that there's an update?
I don't know.
Because the polling would be expensive, right? Like,
Yeah,
is there
yeah.
an update? Is there an update?
I
Very
think it
interesting.
the next time it tries to use that plugin, it's
Oh, just
rereading
refresh.
that manifest. I mean, the manifest is usually four
Yeah.
or five lines. It just
Right.
says
Right.
here's where to find all the
Right.
JavaScript, because they're all written in TypeScript. Here's where to find the JavaScript. Here's where the permissions are required,
Sure.
and that's it. And so
Yeah,
if you're
you lost
doing
me.
it
People
is
still write
so
JavaScript.
cool.
That does
I
sound
was
awesome.
so impressed with. I mean, because I already thought Penpot was, there's no reason to think about Figma generally. It
Unless
is,
you get an Adobe subscription at work, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so I was really impressed with that. I just saw that video today. Oh,
Yeah, I
this
had
is
no
awesome.
idea you could self-host. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Oh,
All
and
right.
so regarding self-hosting, so over the weekend,
Oh wait, there's more.
over the weekend, I finally set up setting up a link shortener. I've been meaning to do that for ages.
Right.
I have a simple thing on AWS for 5 years. I think I set it up in 2019, and it was I needed just enough, like it needed Route 53, and it needed this other little thing, and it needed this other little thing, and it to host that was basically $5.
I mean,
Now I
Route
could have
53.
hosted
Yeah, I
I
think.
could have hosted 10,000 other things for that $5,
Hmm.
but for that first one I needed, and so,
Right.
and I haven't done anything. It's so kludgy and hard to work with that I never add anything to it, and so it's just a pain. I turned all those things off. Okay, well that's $5 a month I don't have to pay anymore. And in fact, I kind of forgot about it. Apart from seeing this charge from AWS, $5.20 every month. But so I swapped that out to what did I call it? What was it? I shared it with you.
I'll find it.
Um,
We talk too much.
uh,
Sync,
Sync.
sync.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was great. That's amazing, and it works really well. It's got a Raycast plugin and a bunch of other things, and then a social media scheduler. So being able to write
Right.
out uh, a tweet or whatever you want to do and have it posted to Twitter and Mastodon and Threads and Blue Sky, but also just write it one time, and then for each one tweaking that. Okay, I want to tweak it a little bit for Mastodon, and that user is actually a user on Twitter, so at that user on for the
Mhm.
Twitter one, and all the different things, and then schedule it to be the next slot for each of those, and then you see on your calendar, okay, at 2:15 it's going to go out on Twitter, on at 2:16 it's going to go out on Threads and Blue Sky, and at these whatever other times you see your schedule of when different things go out. So set that up. That's also self-hosted, so easy to set up. Yeah, and so those are the things that I've set up recently, which are like, oh, thank goodness this is there.
That
And
was
it's
awesome.
because that means I can stop my Buffer subscription, which I've had for 7 years.
I'm just trying to find the link to sync here. 1 second. Is it from CCB Kai?
Yes, that's the one.
All right, we will pass that out as well. There are a couple questions about one of the videos. I'll just make sure.
Yeah, so look for the Penpot video. Just look for on YouTube Penpot plugins. I think that's what I look
Perfect.
for, and that's all you. And there's a bunch there. There's like 4, 5, and they're so easy to work with. So those are my fun picks for the. I definitely wasted a lot of time on what was it, Friday or Saturday, just like trying to set those up, and it turned out my problem setting up
No, this is
the
fantastic because otherwise my approach here is to go to GitHub and sort by stars. So this is way,
Yeah,
way
well,
better.
well, setting up the link shortener, that was really easy. It's all in Cloudflare. There is one piece that I mean, you can do almost all of it for free with with the Cloudflare free plan. But there's in order to get the better analytics on the links, you need to have the worker plan, which is $5 a month, but it gives you so much that anything else that you're hosting is going to be better by having that $5 a month. And then the scheduler tool, it I have it on a server that I also have N8N running and a bunch of other things running. And I have traffic in front as a reverse proxy, so that I have
Traffic. Yeah.
post p dot whatever the host name, the domain is. Yeah, traffic, whatever, however you're supposed to say it.
I think you're right. It's traffic.
I think it's traffic. But because of the traffic network, that's the only thing that's it. The reason it took me so long to set up was that because I had everything should have been on the same traffic network rather than
Gotcha.
a different Docker network, and that's what screwed me up. And now it's flawless. It's amazing.
Good cautionary tale. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
All right. I
That's
think
it.
the chat's died down now.
Yeah,
Nerd
yeah.
just right at the end.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's call
All
it.
right. Shall we find the end button?
Let us find it.
Okay. Well, we had a few people show up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, folks.
Fetish.